Hello and welcome to Temple Street, the show brought to you by the Department of Communication and Journalism at Suffolk University. I'm Kim Perez.
And I'm Heaven Barakip. On today's show, we're reporting on Breast Cancer Awareness Month, new residence options for those with ALS, and the medical benefits of being around a man's best friend.
We also talked to Israeli author and filmmaker Sammy Shalom Shatrit, ask Bostonians their favorite Thanksgiving traditions, and join in some fun with LGBTQ month at Suffolk. Also, we will end with our Critics Corner with Johnathan. Richard, what do you have for us today, JR?
Today I will tell you how the Red Sox went from worst to first in their last 2 seasons.
Thanks, JR. But first, the news. In October, many organizations worked together to show young women prevention tips in hopes of decreasing their chances of breast cancer. Locally, Suffolk University is also doing its part to spread awareness to its students. Reporters Nicole and JR were at the events in Boston and at Suffolk University and have the story.
October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where organizations hold events and march in support of women's health. With over 20 types of breast cancers potentially affecting both men and women, the American Cancer Society is stepping up its awareness efforts across the nation. In 2013 alone, an estimated 23,000 women will be diagnosed with new and sometimes invasive forms of breast cancer. Experts say they have witnessed a recent surge in the number of young women around ages 25 to 30 who are diagnosed with breast cancer. Researchers are especially concerned about college women because binge drinking is the #1 associated risk linked to the disease. Suffolk University is also doing its part by spreading awareness to students. Traditionally, the school's athletic department leads the activities with its 5th annual Human Pink Photograph.
It recognizes the volunteers who support breast cancer. It's recognized faculty members who have survived breast cancer.
Faculty member Noreen Bashikalupo started the event in honor of her sister who lost her life to breast cancer.
And when I was a survivor, in 2002, I was declared a survivor, and my little diploma was up on that shelf. I finally figured out how I could honor Barbara's memory.
The school's athletic teams dressed in pink shirts for the occasion. Refreshments were available as students opened up on how the disease has affected their own lives.
I've got a lot of relatives who have unfortunately had a disease, but they've overcome it. But it's just an awful disease, and it's very bad on the families.
Bashikalupo continues to spread awareness to her students. With so many obstacles overcome, Noreen is living proof of survival.
I won't lie and say it's not easy, but you can't give up hope. And all of these stuffed animals that are in my office, a lot of those I've gotten over the years from my students when I've been going through my breast cancer.
For Temple Street, this is Nicole Makuta and Johnathan Richard.
Breast cancer is now one of the leading diseases affecting young women today. Women who detect the disease during the first stage now have 100% chance of survival.
Every 90 minutes, a new person is devastated with a diagnosis of ALS, a disease that typically leaves patients paralyzed and unable to communicate. The ALS Residence Initiative is a new program that aims at helping people overcome these challenges. Temple Street reporters Katie Shambo and Sorgina Oshana have the story.
Like I like to say, until medicine proves otherwise, technology is the cure.
This is the motto for the estimated 30,000 Americans living with the disease at any given time. ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a condition where the motor nerves wither and die. It typically happens over a period of 2 to 5 years, causing muscle weakness, paralysis, and is fatal when the diaphragm becomes too weak to breathe. Despite the prognosis, patients with ALS are still able to live productive lives. Co-founder of the ALS Residence Initiative, Steve Sailing, came to the conclusion that he could survive the disease.
I learned that technology was readily available to compensate for my physical losses. Because ALS doesn't affect my mind, I have chosen to redefine my expectations in life to be less physical, more intellectual.
During the first 3 years of his diagnosis, Sailing helped design the world's first skilled service residence that opened in 2010. The only other fully automated ALS residence opened in New Orleans in January of 2013. The Team Gleason House for Innovative Living in Louisiana is named after former New Orleans Saints safety and special teams player Steve Gleason. Gleason partnered with Sailing to bring the home to Louisiana under St. Margaret's Nursing Home. This initiative is now being implemented nationwide. The Steve Sailing ALS residence offers a home within the Leonard Florence Center for Living in Chelsea, Massachusetts.
Housemates are like family. We go to concerts, movies, museums, Red Sox games, and even skydiving.
Although licensed as a skilled nursing home, the architectural and internal design is completely residential. The home is fully automated to increase independence, from opening doors, window shades, turning on lights, to operating an entire flat-screen home theater and using the elevator. Patients can do all this from their wheelchairs using only their eyes. The automation system can be controlled with any wireless device that has a web browser. If the patients of ALS, also known as PALS, do need help with something, they can call for assistance. A licensed nurse is available in-house 24 hours a day. One of the nurses believes the best thing about working at the residence is that it is more like a home.
You know, it's not like you're taking care of patients. I don't see ALS on any one of the people I take care of any longer. I basically see them, their personalities, and all that they contribute to our lives, even more than we contribute to theirs.
Sailing says everyone who wants to live with the disease deserves to do it with dignity and respect, and the ALS Residence Initiative aims to make that possible. John Brooks, a family member and longtime caregiver, believes that the residence makes it a little easier for both the family and the patient.
And it also gives the family peace of mind, knowing that when they do leave, their loved one is being taken care of. And it's just a great place, and there needs to be a lot more. There really does.
The great Stephen Hawking once said he looks forward to living centers such as this becoming a standard for the world. For Temple Street, I'm Katie Shambo with Sergina Oshana.
Through the residence, Sailing intends to change the prognosis of Lou Gehrig's disease from a fatal condition to what he defines as a simply chronic one. To support an ALS residence near you, visit alsri.org. Again, that's alsri.org. All administrative costs are already paid for, so 100% of your contribution will directly be used to improve the lives of the patients.
An amazing group of golden retrievers, specially trained in the art of healing, recently made a trip to Suffolk University. Reporters Matt Dargan and Jake Atheo have the story.
This month, a group of service dogs visited the Suffolk University campus. These special dogs are trained to heal people who have experienced personal loss and post-traumatic stress. The effect that dogs have on humans isn't just emotional. Physical changes have also been noted.
The dogs bring a very calming influence. It's medically proven that petting a dog lowers your blood pressure, it lowers your heart rate. The dogs are non-judgmental. They keep your confidence. And for a lot of people in different processes of grieving or recovery, the dogs help speed up that process.
Over the last year, these dogs have spent a lot of time in the Northeast.
We responded to Superstorm Sandy. We were in the Rockaways and on the New Jersey shore. We were in Sandy Hook. We were in Boston. But somehow with the dogs, the healing process quickens a little bit.
This particular group of dogs has been called on to comfort victims of many of the nation's most notorious natural and human tragedies. The dogs have been used to comfort individuals of all ages and socioeconomic backgrounds, including helping young, grief-stricken children at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Experts say the therapy sessions with the dogs helped young survivors of the shooting cope with the feelings of loss when dealing with the deaths of fellow classmates and teachers.
You know, it breaks down all barriers. They come right to the dogs. They can feel a real sense of comfort.
Canines have been aiding humans for at least 3 centuries, especially guiding those who are blind and physically disabled. Today, therapy dogs are helping humans in new and surprising ways. Reporting for Temple Street, I'm Matt Dargan.
Those dogs are so cute. It doesn't surprise me that they have such healing powers.
We now go to Temple Street reporter Steve Brantley as he sits down with distinguished visiting professor Sammy Shalom Satri, professor at Queens College in New York, a filmmaker and a Mizrahi expert.
Thank you so much for coming down and talking to us today, Sammy.
Thank you for having me.
Good. I want to get right into the issue that's closest to your heart. Most Americans and our viewers here have a pretty good understanding of the Palestinian-Israeli issue, but what doesn't get reported very often is about the plight of the Mizrahim in the Western media here. in fact, even the term Arab Jew is kind of, doesn't make any sense to Americans.
Yeah.
So my question is, for Suffolk students and other people watching here, where maybe this interview is their first glimpse of the issue, what would you say are the most important things for them to understand about the issue?
The term Arab Jews doesn't make sense to most Israelis as well. So when we talk about Arab Jews, we talk about Mizrahim, we talk about Jews from the Middle East and North Africa. We're actually talking about Arabs in their culture, Jews in their faith, coming to Israel after its creation, 48, early 50s, all the way through the 50s, coming to a state where the Arab is an enemy, already formed as an enemy, but the people who established the state are European Jews, Zionist European Jews. And for them, the Arab was the enemy from the very beginning. Overnight, you actually become the enemy of yourself. Anyone who become Israeli, so Israeli, the only model you have is European Jew. So you have to negate yourself. And to negate yourself and distance yourself from anything Arab. But you are Arab, you eat like Arab, you dance like Arab, you sing like Arab, you speak like Arab, it must be an Arab. So people don't see that, they see Arabs and Jews, but it's much more complex.
The Mizrahim represent half the population of Israel, and yet there's still plenty of social inequality between them and the European Jews. How do you see the future playing out in the short term and longer term?
Today we have a mix of so many factors into this social and economical gaps. It's going to take a resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to then divert energy inward into those issues.
One of the issues that you had mentioned, and that I know that you feel strongly about, is education. And you, in the 90s, were part of a group that started, was called the Kedma School in Tel Aviv. Why do you think it was important to open that school, and what lessons have you drawn from the whole experience?
We declared from the beginning, we're not going to change reality by numbers, but we want to create good models for good education in neighborhoods and towns where there is no such education, meaning good academic programs that can lead to higher education later, instead of what was there, vocational and semi-academic programs that led nowhere, maybe for high school diploma, no more than that. So we said we want to create this model and prove that it's possible, so the state will follow us. And also the curriculum, because we changed the curriculum, because the curriculum in Israel talks only about European Jews, not about Arabs, not about Mizrahi Jews, not about ultra-Orthodox Jews. They are all erased from the history book. Literature is only European literature, Western literature. So we changed that. We said we're going to balance the curriculum and create equal opportunities to all students academically.
You've worn many other hats as far as this issue goes, poet, novelist, filmmaker, not to mention scholar and a teacher. Which form of expression have you found to be the most effective in getting your point across, and which one do you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's a good one. I enjoy good moments of all of them. I can say that. I love to write also, but I learned, you write a book, you work 2-3 years until it's published, it's another year or more. And then it's published, and then you can, reach maybe a couple thousand people. And you take that topic and you do a documentary with a nice story, good music, and some good facts. You can reach thousands and thousands and thousands, sometimes,
Yeah. You had said that the documentary can sometimes be the best way to get across to the most people. Your documentary called the Black Panthers in Israel Speak gives voice to a protest movement. It was in 1970s Israel. And it kind of ran parallel to the American Black Panthers. If you had to explain to Americans what the difference was between the two groups.
Well, there was no big difference. The Israelis were inspired by there were Mizrahi group from Jerusalem, started this movement in 1971. They were very young. The basics were similar, which is discrimination. We have also colors, black and white, almost the same. The divide of class and ethnicity was almost overlapping at that time in Israel.
I just wanted to ask you one other thing about the movie, the Black Panthers movie. You were able to make it on a very, very small budget.
Yeah.
What advice would you give for any students here that maybe would want to make a film with not much money?
Yeah, actually sometimes I miss those days because you really have to use all your talent that you have and people around you and recruit everybody. It was a great feeling doing that movie, almost feels like underground. You have to be very creative, you have to be very precise in the editing room because you don't want to do it over and over again. Always show people that you trust something before you move on. Collaborate. I did nothing in my life by myself. That's my secret.
I really appreciate you coming and talking to us today, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And back to you guys at the studio.
Thank you, Steve, for that interview. I didn't realize that half of Israel's Jewish citizens are from the Arab world.
Still to come after the break, people's favorite Thanksgiving traditions, a recap on the Drag Queen show, and our Critics Corner.
We'll be right back.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
So I've come up with a family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
For those who love food just as much as I do, Thanksgiving has been the go-to holiday for foodies. Besides the turkey, mashed potatoes, and pumpkin pie, many Bostonians have that one special tradition they always keep during the holidays. On today's Speak Out, I asked Bostonians about their favorite Thanksgiving memory.
We're all invited to Charlie Brown's grandmother's for Thanksgiving dinner.
What is your favorite Thanksgiving memory?
Probably my mother's dressing she made every year. There is no known written recipe for it, and I cannot recreate it in the kitchen as much as I'd like to. And every time I ask her what the ingredients are, she says, "Oh, a handful of this and a pinch of that."
The after-dinner football game, my whole family goes out, and its age ranges from like 10 to like 60, and we kind of just beat the crap out of each other. But it's a post-food comp almost, so it's a really fun time.
With my family, it's very loud, very rambunctious, and we all play with my dog, and that's fun.
Well, I'm not actually from America, so I don't really have any traditions at all.
I heard pumpkin and turkey and sweet potato pie are the traditional things.
I come from a partially Italian family, and it's all about coming together and doing your traditional thing, and our traditional thing is just having an excessive amount of food, and we've run out of American ideas, so we've moved on to Italian.
At least 2 of the 3 football games on, we usually fall asleep because we're so full and sleepy from the food. And the worst part is you spend 2 days cooking and about 20 minutes eating, and then you're done.
The antipasto, and then we do a fish dish, which is like special to the Italian tradition as well.
We usually go to my dad's friend's house, and it's like a 40+ people, and we just all eat a bunch of turkeys and mashed potatoes and stuff, and it's delicious. And yeah, just spend time with family and friends.
Having both a ton of delicious foods and football on the same day, that sounds like my kind of holiday. I can't wait.
That's funny. There's a tradition in my house. It's called Don't Let Dad Cook, but that's a story for another day.
Suffolk University's Performing Arts Office and the Rainbow Alliance have ended LGBTQ month with yet another successful drag show. Originally started 15 years ago by a Suffolk alum, the show has welcomed a variety of Boston's finest drag performers, showing just how womanly a man can be. Reporter Alex Martinez and I joined the ever-popular annual show.
Drag queen is defined as a homosexual man who dresses as a woman in order to entertain others. Performers say it's for more than a comedic effect. It's a different side of theatrical performance. Some drag performers say they personally live out their acts.
Wherever we go, we're entertainers, and that's what we do, is we entertain. No matter what the situation, we could see a small baby crying on the street, we're going to entertain that child.
Say their main focus is to have fun. From interacting with the audience to the outrageous makeup and clothing, they look to stand apart from other shows. In between dance numbers, they perform stand-up comedy as well, just to spice things up.
The show is a tremendous amount of fun. It's been around for over 15 years. It is a great ending to LGBTQ History Month.
Students were not only interacted with, they were also invited to perform and dance with the drag queens on stage. Some audience members were shy, but others were more than willing to get on stage and put on an act of their own, while their peers cheered them on. Audience members say they were stunned and were not expecting such an openly sexual performance.
Definitely. I will come back every single year. Maybe even I'll try and perform one year.
The show came to an end. The ladies got together for one last dance. This number showcased the look of each individual artist, which ranged from mild to just over the top. They came with the intent to put on an extravagant show for the students, and they did just that. The ladies made this performance vividly come to life, and the sassy attitude was the cherry on top. For Temple Street, I'm Alex Martinez with Kim Perez.
The performers are professional drag queens and honor Suffolk students with the yearly free show. We hope next year's show is just as stunning as this year's.
And from the men who shave all the time to the men who didn't shave, considering you're a baseball player, JR, this must have been an exciting year for you and the Red Sox fans.
Well, it was an exciting year. I just don't know how I could grow a beard as long as the Red Sox. Boston Red Sox fans have not had it easy the last few years. From the collapse of the 2011 season, where they blew an 8.5 game lead going into the final month, to the 2012 supposed best team ever assembled here in Boston that finished 24 games below 500. With the new season, new faces came to the scene for a much-needed culture change. But general manager Ben Cherington didn't use the cash to score big names in free agency. When he signed outfielder Shane Victorino, catcher David Ross, outfielder Johnny Gomes, shortstop Stephen Drew, and reliever Koji Uehara, it simply looked like he was overpaying role players. Mike Napoli looked like the big scorer of the offseason, and he even turned out to have an unknown hip condition. Boston fans were still so disgusted over the dismal 2012 season that it was almost enjoyable to hear that we got rid of the heartless superstars we all hoped would bring a title to Boston the year before. Now with Diva manager Bobby Valentine gone, Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, and Josh Beckett in Dodger Blue, it has become a rebuilding season for the Sox. Well, that's why they play the games, right? New manager John Farrell, a familiar face here in Boston, didn't seem to get the memo that it was a rebuilding year for the Red Sox. Farrell brought in his old relentless, never-give-up attitude that so many Boston fans fell in love with when the Sox won the World Series 6 years prior. No more superstar, we were going to win easy mode. This year is going to be about pitching and defense that will lead the Sox to wherever they were headed. At least that was the plan until the Boston Red Sox boasted the best offense in the 2013, leading the American League in runs scored, runs batted in, doubles, and second in batting average. Pitching was also above par, as they led the league in wins and top 5 in earned run average. An easy first-place finish in the American League, the Red Sox continued this historic season, and now with beards. Yes, newly acquired first baseman Mike Napoli must have left his razor in Texas, as he started a trend way back in spring training not to shave. And with the success of the Red Sox, why bother? Now most of the team has caught on to the trend, and by the start of the postseason, it seemed that there were no razors allowed on any of the players in the dugout. Other than the beards, the role players also bought into the relentless attitude of their manager, John Farrell, who knew he had the right team assembled to reach the ultimate goal. The Red Sox and their beards showed how heart and determination means so much more to a ball club than just a few superstars.
Well, I'm sure the city of Boston will miss the beards just as much as the players.
We'll see how the shaving goes next year.
And that's it for this edition of Temple Street. I'm Kim Perez.
And I'm Johnathan Richard.
And I'm Heaven Barricott. See you next time.